Hello students, today we are going to take a chapter from geography and we are going to do the chapter agriculture. Agriculture is divided into parts and we are going to do agriculture part 1, and the syllabus for agriculture is Indian agriculture importance, problems and reforms. Types of farming in India, that is subsistence and commercial farming, shifting, intensive, extensive, plantation and mixed. So the word agriculture has been derived from two Latin words. Ager means land and culture meaning cultivation. So agriculture is the word of ager and culture. Agriculture is thus defined as the cultivation of the soil in order to grow crops and rear livestock. The essential purpose of agriculture is the production of food from land for human or animal consumption. India is primarily an agricultural country, as 2/3 of its population depends on agriculture. Agriculture accounts for nearly 14% of its gross domestic product (GDP), 12% share of the total value of the country's export, and provides employment to about 58% of the labor force. The vast expanse of level land, rich soil, wide climatic variations, suited for various types of crops, ample sunshine, and a long growing season provide the necessary conditions for the development of agriculture in India. However, the agricultural output depends on monsoon, as nearly 55% of the area shown is dependent on rainfall. So basically, India is an agricultural country, and over 70% of the Indian population is directly involved in agriculture. Why is India an agricultural country? Because we have very fertile soil, plenty of rainfall, we have a monsoon type of a climate, and we have good sunshine, good soil. All this condition makes India an ideal place for growing crops. What is the importance of agriculture? Agriculture plays a significant role in the Indian economy in the following ways. First, it provides food for our expanding population and fodder for our livestock. This point is very clear. Secondly, it generates working capital for non-agricultural development, supplies raw materials for agro-based industries like textile, sugar, food processing, vanaspati, etc. Third, it provides a large part of the market for industrial goods, especially the farm inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, implements, machinery, etc. Fourth, it accounts for a substantial portion of India's export. And fifth, it provides employment to millions of people. So that is why agriculture is very, very important for our country. Indian agriculture and its problems. Despite a number of efforts being made for agricultural development, agricultural yield in India is still low in comparison to the developed countries of the world. This is caused by the interplay of several factors. These factors can be categorized into 4 groups. One is environmental, second is economic, third is institutional, and the fourth is technological. So even though a lot of effort is being made to improve the agricultural yield, every year we are through with the green revolution. We are trying to use better chemicals, fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, high yielding varieties of seeds, uh, machines and tools in agriculture. Yet, if we compare ourselves with the Western world, the reason behind this is that there may be different groups, or we can say four groups, in we can say that because of these four groups, environmental, economic, institutional and technological, that India is lagging behind the Western countries. Now, what is the environmental factors? First and foremost is the unreliable rainfall. It is not very certain when it is going to rain, how much rainfall we are going to receive, whether this it will be scanty rainfall, moderate rainfall or heavy rainfall. So the monsoons of India is very unpredictable. This becomes a very unreliable source of irrigation for the farmers. Indian agriculture is dependent to a large extent on the monsoons, which are uncertain, irregular and unequally distributed. Nearly 55% of the net sown area continues to depend on rainfall rather than irrigation. Even after being so much being modernized, after building so many dams, yet more than half of the Indian agriculture depends on the rainfall only, where irrigation is not provided to the farms and field. That is why when rains fail, agricultural production is badly affected, resulting in scarcity of food grains. So rainfall is very unpredictable. If we have excess of rainfall, again there's a problem. If we have less rain, again there's a problem. The second factor is lack of irrigation facilities. India has the largest irrigated area of the cultivated land, but a large percent of the net cropped area lacks irrigation facilities and is dependent on monsoon. The failure of monsoon is the failure of agriculture. See, even though we have the biggest cultivable land in the world, yet our net sown area, as compared to the world, what we get from the net sown area is very meager, very less. The main reason behind it is that we are dependent on the rainfall. Irrigation is not provided to major farms and fields in India. Further, free power supply to a section of farmers encourages them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crop in low rainfall areas, for example sugarcane in Maharashtra and rice in Punjab. This unsustainable pumping of water has reduced water shortage in aquifers, water storage in aquifers. Consequently, many wells and tube wells have become dry. This has pushed the marginal and the small farmers out of cultivation. So some farmers who are getting the benefit of free electricity, they are taking over advantage of the facilities available to them. They dig in deep bore wells and they pump out the water from the from the ground, from the water table. This reduces the water table, and the other farmers, the marginal farmers who cannot afford to dig a tube well or a bore well, they are badly affected because the groundwater is reduced and the water in the well dries up. There is no water in the well, and they are left with nothing but to depend on the vagaries of rainfall. The third major problem of Indian agriculture is soil erosion. Soil erosion is not only a major cause for decreasing soil fertility, but also results in loss of valuable cropland. The indiscriminate cutting of trees, overgrazing, faulty land use practice have greatly accelerated the process of soil erosion and soil degradation. Loss of soil fertility is responsible for low crop yields. Okay, so how come there's a problem of soil erosion in India? Because we have faulty technique of agriculture. We tend to overgraze our cattle in a particular area for a very long time, and this divides that particular region with top cover grass. Then there's a problem of cutting of forests and cutting of trees indiscriminately. All these leads to soil erosion. Methods of cultivation. The method of cultivation that we use also is not accurate. Though a number of crops are grown in India, their average productivity as compared to other developed countries is quite low. This is because of old and inefficient methods and techniques of farming, inadequate irrigational facilities, and inability of the farmers to purchase good quality seeds and modern equipments because of paucity of funds and lack of latest know-how and inputs. So India is still lagging behind when it comes to use of modern method of agriculture, use of techniques, modern techniques of farming, irrigation facilities, inability to purchase good quality seeds and all that. It is because our farmers, they don't have the basic knowledge. Sometimes they do not have the knowledge of the technical know-how, the latest gadgets that can be used in agriculture. So we are lagging behind from the Western countries. The fifth reason why we are lagging behind in agriculture is faulty cultivation of crops. The types of crops that we grow may not be suitable for the type of soil on which it is grown. In India, agriculture is practiced by repetitive cultivation of the main two food crops, that is rice and wheat. These two crops deplete the soil fertility. Or every farmer, they want to grow either wheat or they either want to grow rice, because wheat and rice becomes the basic diet of the people living in India. Since these crops are in great demand, the farmers tend to grow these crops only, and these crops, they take away the nutritive value of the soil very rapidly. The sixth cause is reduction in the net sown area. In the recent decades, there has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetable, oilseeds and industrial crops. This has resulted in the reduction of the net sown area under cereals and pulses. So now farmers, they are trying to earn as much money as possible. They have realized that more money is available if we cultivate fruits and vegetables, or if we cultivate oil seeds, or if we cultivate industrial crops. So there is a gradual shift from food grains to food crops, such as from fruits and vegetables and crops which are used as raw materials in the industries. Further, the competition for land between agriculture and non-agricultural uses, such as housing, etc., has resulted in the decline in the net sown area. This has led to a decline in food production. All of us know, all of us realize that, like for example, Seventh-day Adventist school or SDA school is in the heart of the city, like is in the Sadar. What about Mari Pospins? What about Chandadevi Saraf school? What about MSB? Once upon a time, these were outside the city limits. Here they were farms and fields, and they were forest area. So land is now being used for building purposes, for construction of roads, construction of colonies, construction of schools. So the land which was used for cultivation is now being used for non-agricultural purposes. So this again has affected the cropping pattern in India. Then the second factor, we are dealing with the problems of agriculture. The first factor was the environmental factor, in which we have discussed about the unreliable rainfall, then lack of irrigation facilities, then about soil erosion, then methods of cultivation, faulty cultivation of crops, reduction in the net sown area. Now we are onto the second factor, and that is the institutional factor. Now what is this institutional factor? Small and fragmented land holdings. The custom of India is such that when a farmer, say a very big farmer, he has 100 acres of land. Around 20 years back, 30 years back, this farmer had 100 acres of land. He had 4 children. Now, after his death, this 100 acres of land has to be divided among the 4 kids, each getting 25 hectares of land. So, there's a drastic reduction from 100 acres of land to 25 acres of land. If suppose these farmers they each have 2 children each, again that 25 has to be divided into 12.5, 12.5, 12.5. In this way, the land is further fragmented, and ultimately, the condition today is that mostly all the farmers or most of the farmers have very small land holdings, say around 5 hectares or even below that, 2.5 hectares, 3 hectares, 4 hectares, 5 hectares. Cultivation of crop is possible but is not commercially viable in such small land holdings. Majority of land holdings in India are very small. These small and fragmented holdings cannot promote modern agriculture. They do not generate enough income to buy new agricultural inputs or make heavy investments. Therefore, no scientific cultivation with improved techniques and seeds can take place. Small sized land holdings also lead to waste of time, labor, and underutilization of irrigation facilities. Then we have exploitation of the farmers. The land tenure system is another important reason for low productivity in India. Under the zamindari system, the cultivators was only a tenant but could be turned out of the land. Even though zamindari system has been abolished, but its effects have not been completely wiped out. There is a section of landowners who act as absentee landlords and get the cultivation done through tenants and sharecroppers. Besides the tenants, a large number of landless laborers also exist. They are paid partly sums as wages and have to work as bonded laborers. Thus, neither the owner nor the tenants have the urge to raise the production. So, though we don't have the zamindari system now, like earlier we had the zamindari system where the zamindar had acres and acres upon land and he used to employ workers to work on his farm and field. Though this system has been scrapped after independence, there is no zamindari system. But people act like zamindars because most of the rich farmers, they have shifted or they have migrated to the cities, and they come to the farms and field once in a while to check what is going on. They have employed laborers who work on the farms. These laborers, they don't do work with interest because it is not their farm. They are getting a regular income. They are happy with what they get. Even if they work more hard, they are not going to get more money. So they don't take keen interest. And neither this rich farmer, because he has, if he's rich, he's a rich farmer, he might be having some industries or he's into some other business, and agriculture is a secondary source of income for him. So even he does not take much interest in the agricultural activities. Therefore, agriculture suffers in India. Then the third factor is the economic factors. Subsistence agriculture. The word subsistence means to provide for self. Doing agriculture, growing crops only to provide for self. There is nothing left to sell in the market. Subsistence type of agriculture is mainly practiced in India. This is because the per capita cultivable land is a mere 1/4 hectare and the farm produce is just enough to sustain the farmer. So most of the farmers, they have very small piece of land. In this piece of land, they can only grow that much crop which can be consumed by their families, and nothing is left for them to sell in the market. Then we have the human elements. Farmers are poor, they are death ridden, they are uneducated, They do not follow the modern techniques of farming, nor can they purchase modern equipments due to the lack of marketing facilities and non availability of loans as fair rates of interest. The farmers are not able to invest the required resource in agriculture. They have no security against failure of crop, neither do they have capital to invest in agriculture. So these human elements again make it very difficult for the farmer to sustain, for the farmer to take interest, and for agriculture to prosper in a country. Then there are some challenges that are posed by globalization. The word globalization, what does globalization means? Getting connected to the world in trade and business, having an open market where foreign countries, where MNCs, multinational companies, they can invest in the country. Since the investment of the multinational companies have come in, this has seriously affected the croppings in India. And how is it so? Globalization means integrating the economy of the country with the world economy. Globalization has thrown open Indian market to the world. Now foreign products including agricultural products can easily be imported to India, and India can export its products to other countries. Consequently, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition. This is because the yields per hectare of major crops in the developed countries are much higher than that of India. Then reduction in the import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to agriculture in India. The Indian government has reduced the taxes on import duties of agricultural products, so the foreign agricultural products in India are available at cheaper rates. So this again has affected the Indian farmers. Then we have the price of most of the farm products in the international markets are declining, whereas the Indian markets, these are increasing. Now in the foreign countries, they have very extensive farms and field and they are doing cultivation through machines, which makes it very easy for them, very convenient for them, and they are better off, and they produce a lot of crops, which makes it very economical for them. So they can sell their crops, they can sell their produce in Indian markets at a much cheaper rate, whereas the poor Indian farmer, his way of cultivating is his old traditional method, which is expensive, and he tries to get maximum profit from whatever he is trying to do, and that is why he sells his produce at a little higher price. So again, there is a stiff competition from the international grower to the Indian grower. Use of sophisticated farm machinery, which has led to reduction in the cost of production. Okay, now why the price of the most of the products of the international market are declining? That is because they use sophisticated farm machinery, which has led to a reduction in the cost of production. And again, the foreign farmers have a rapid progress in the field of biotechnology, which has made available highly productive seeds to the farmers. So the Western countries, they have then the heavy subsidies given to the farmers in the developed countries has resulted in low production cost. This again is a bad news for the Indian farmer. Now the fourth factor contributing to the problems of the Indian farmer is the technological factor. Old and inefficient techniques are used in our country. Most of the farmers in India use old and inefficient techniques of farming. Wooden plows and bullocks are still used by a majority of farmers. Mechanization is limited. Farmers continue to use traditional methods of irrigation. With such methods, one third of the cropped area only could be provided irrigation facilities. So you might be thinking that what sir is only telling about the problems of the Indian farmers. Is there not any good news about the Indian farmer? So the next topic would be the good news, But right now, the technological factor is that the Indian farmers are still using the old methods of cultivation, which is forefathers, which is grandfather, which is father, grandfather, and great grandfather were using. The wooden hoe, the wooden plow, using bullocks. Okay, whereas in the Western countries, in the developed countries, all this has been done with, and they are using all modern methods of cultivation, which again is very efficient for them. So, uh, with such method of crops, we can provide irrigation facilities only to one third uh, farms and fields present in our country. So now we are talking of what are the good news of the Indian agriculture. Hasn't any reform taken place in the Indian agriculture? Of course, Indian government is trying very hard since independence, since 1955. The then government has taken great interest in trying to increase the agricultural products by concentrating on the irrigation facilities, building dams, building industries. Okay, so what are the reforms that have been taken for the Indian farmers? Agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy. However, over the years, its contribution to the gross domestic product (GDP) has been declining. This is a matter of serious concern because any decline in agriculture leads to decline in other sectors of the economy. To check this decline, the government of India has taken a number of steps like establishment of Indian Councils of Agricultural Research ICAR, agriculture universities, veterinary services, and animal breeding centers. Horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, and setting up of Kisan call centers to address the queries and grievances of the farmers. Now, what is this ICAR? What does ICAR stand for? ICAR stand for Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So, since the gross domestic product from agriculture is very low, the Indian government has taken some initiative to try to improve the contribution of the agricultural sector to the GDP of India, and they have set up a Indian Council of Agriculture Research where the universities which are in agriculture, in veterinary science and all that, in animal husbandry, in animal breeding centers, horticulture, okay, development in research and development in the fields of meteorology, weather forecast. So all these are being taken up with a view to benefit the farmer, and they are trying to set up Kisan call centers in which they try to address the queries, the questions, and the problems that the farmers are facing. So the first step towards development of agriculture is taken by the government. The government is trying hard to try to improve the GDP or the profit that the country should gain from agriculture. The green revolution. What is this green revolution? Use of modern machines, use of high yielding varieties of seeds, use of scientific method of cultivation, uses of chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, germicides, new irrigation facilities. All this with an aim to improve the agricultural produce is known as green revolution. The green revolution is regarded as the greatest revolution in the country, which helped to transform the economy from food scarcity to food self-sufficiency. The green revolution is a term used for describing the manifold increase in India's farm production and productivity, particularly in the case of major cereal crops like wheat, consequent to the adoption of the new agricultural strategy. Since the late 60s, like the green revolution was introduced into India in the 1965s, 65, 66, 67. During this time, the green revolution was introduced in India, first in Haryana, Punjab, and western Uttar Pradesh. Okay, this region was the first to adopt green revolution, and we have seen a lot of benefit for the farmers in the initial stages. The key elements of this new strategy include the following: use of large capital and technological inputs, adoption of modern scientific method of farming. So as I was saying, use of large capital and technological inputs, adoption of modern scientific method of farming, use of high yielding varieties of seeds, extension of irrigation facilities, particularly groundwater resources, proper use of chemical fertilizers, improvement in marketing and storage facilities, use of insecticides, pesticides, consolidation of land holdings. What do you mean consolidation of land holdings? Trying to make the land holding bigger by either by merging the land or having cooperatives. Supply of agricultural credit and rural electrification. The Green Revolution had the following impact on Indian agriculture. 1. It enabled Indian agriculture to change from subsistence to commercial and market oriented farming. So what benefit did we get from Green Revolution? That now the farmers did not only produce the crops for their own families, but there's surplus left that they can sell in the market. Then it led to the development of intensive agricultural production system that increased production and paved the way for self-sufficiency in respect of food grains. So Green Revolution also the farmers have now developed the habit of intensively cultivating the crop. What do you mean by intensively cultivating the crop? So they take not only one yield or one crops, for example the Rabi crop, the Khari crop and the Zayad. So they are cultivating the crop in all the three seasons. Earlier it was only Rabi and Kharif season, and the in between season of 40 to 60 days, this was just left vacant. But now the farmers, because of Green Revolution, they are making use of the period also. This short period is known as the Zayad period. The adoption of new technology under Green Revolution created more employment opportunities in agricultural sector. So this has also helped in the Indian economy. This has also helped in the Indian economy in what way? By providing employment. Because of the Green Revolution, threshers, tractors, so the farmer, he may not be able to use these things, so he can employ them. And since more crop is being produced, the farmer needs to store them. So store houses is being created in and around the villages. Then the transport system from village to the markets, storage system, transport system, then coming up of business establishment along the roads, since the roads are improved. So a lot of economic activity has boosted because of the improvement in agricultural sector in the Green Revolution. Then the Green Revolution has enabled the farmers to obtain increasing returns from agriculture by greater utilization of agricultural inputs, and it increased rural prosperity. However, at present the Green Revolution is being criticized by environmentalists. They allege that it has caused land degradation due to overuse of fertilizers, pesticides, drying aquifers and vanishing biodiversity. So there is not only positive in Green Revolution, there are some negatives also in the Green Revolution. Because of overuse of insecticides and pesticides, the natural component, the natural fertility of the soil is greatly reduced. Secondly, the overuse of water. Okay, the farmers are trying to use more water, that is causing water sogging and silting of water. The minerals are being sucked in deeper into the soil, and the top layer is becoming infertile. Thirdly, drying aquifers. The aquifers are drying up because the farmers are sucking up the water, pulling out all the water. So these are resulting into the negative aspect of Green Revolution. Today we'll pause over here and we'll continue further from where we have left today in our next class, that is on Wednesday. Okay, so I hope till what I have explained to you is clear to you. In case you have any doubt, you can come up in the chat section.